In the dense, vibrant forests of Kruger National Park, South Africa, an elephant herd moves in a steady, unified rhythm. The thick trees and lush vegetation of the park provide the perfect backdrop for these magnificent creatures, where they roam freely in the wild. This herd, a close-knit family of elephants, is a symbol of strength and unity. Their large, powerful bodies navigate the rugged terrain, their trumpets resonating through the forest as they communicate with each other. With every step, they seem to work as one, with the adults keeping a vigilant eye on the younger members of the group. The herd's unity ensures their survival, as they rely on one another for protection, guidance, and companionship. Their sense of community is profound, and the bond between each member is unbreakable. The older elephants, with their vast knowledge of the land and its dangers, guide the younger ones through the forest, teaching them where to find food and water, and how to avoid potential threats. Amid this mighty herd, there is a baby elephant, curious and full of life. Unlike the older, more composed members of the herd, the baby is energetic, constantly exploring the world around him. His large, floppy ears twitch as he listens to the sounds of the forest, and his trunk, still clumsy, stretches out to touch the ground, picking up leaves and small branches in an innocent display of discovery. The baby elephant often follows closely behind his mother, never straying too far from her protective presence. But his curiosity is boundless. Whether it's a fluttering bird, a strange noise in the bushes, or the distant sound of another animal, he can't resist investigating. His little legs move swiftly as he charges off to inspect, often causing a few concerned glances from the older elephants, who watch over him with loving care. Despite his playful nature, the baby elephant is also learning important life skills. Every day, he observes his mother and the rest of the herd, picking up cues on how to interact with the environment. His mother leads him to the best waterholes, shows him how to find tender grass and fruits, and teaches him how to use his trunk to communicate. The baby's enthusiasm sometimes leads him into mischief, as he often gets distracted by the wonders of the forest, forgetting the safety of sticking close to his family. However, his mother is always there, guiding him gently back into the fold with a reassuring touch of her trunk. The baby elephant's presence in the herd is a reminder of the circle of life. While he is still learning and growing, he is already becoming an integral part of the family. His curiosity and playfulness bring joy and light to the otherwise serious and protective nature of the herd. With each passing day, the baby elephant becomes more attuned to his surroundings, and more deeply bonded to the herd that will protect and nurture him as he grows into the strong, wise elephant he is destined to be. As the baby elephant wandered through the dense underbrush of the forest, his curious eyes scanned the surroundings for anything new and interesting. His ears flicked back and forth, listening to the rustling of leaves and the distant sounds of the forest. The air was filled with the fresh scent of wild plants and the earthy aroma of the damp soil beneath his feet. His trunk reached out playfully, brushing against branches and swaying leaves as he explored deeper into the unknown. It was then that he noticed something unusual. Among the tall grass, there was a bush with a large, round beehive hanging from a low-hanging branch. The beehive was an intriguing sight, with its smooth, waxy surface and the faint buzz of activity emanating from within. The baby elephant's eyes widened with excitement. He had never seen anything like this before. His natural curiosity drew him closer, As his trunk stretched out in fascination, he cautiously approached the hive, careful not to disturb it too much at first. With a soft touch, he brushed his trunk against the side of the hive, gently testing its texture. But that simple touch set off a chain of events. The disturbance was enough to alert the bees inside the hive. Without warning, a cloud of angry bees burst from the opening of the hive, swarming into the air in a frenzied attack. The baby elephant recoiled in surprise. But it was too late. The bees were quick, surrounding him from all sides, their tiny bodies buzzing angrily as they sought to defend their home. The baby elephant trumpeted in alarm, his trunk flailing wildly as he tried to shake off the relentless swarm. The bees didn't stop. They were everywhere, crawling over his skin, stinging him with painful precision. The baby elephant let out a series of frantic cries, his eyes wide with terror as the pain of the stings began to mount. His thick skin, which was usually a barrier against most of the dangers of the wild, was no match for the constant assault of the bees. His small, frightened body jerked in every direction, trying to escape, but the bees stayed with him, swarming in a dense cloud. The pain was intense, and the baby elephant stumbled in confusion, unsure of what to do. He attempted to charge away, but the bees followed closely, refusing to let up. In his panic, the baby elephant charged deeper into the forest, crashing through the bushes and trees. His body was covered with red, swollen welts where the bees had stung him, and the pain was unbearable. Despite his size and strength, he was no match for the tiny creatures that had overwhelmed him with their numbers. The older elephants in the herd heard the baby's distress and rushed to his aid. They trumpeted loudly in alarm, causing the bees to hesitate momentarily. The mother elephant was the first to reach her son, her large, powerful body crashing through the undergrowth. She swung her trunk in wide arcs, swatting at the bees with tremendous force. The other elephants followed her lead, surrounding the baby and creating a protective barrier against the swarm. Slowly, but surely, the bees began to disperse, retreating back to their hive. The baby elephant, panting and exhausted, stood trembling in the midst of his family. His body throbbed with pain from the stings. But he was safe, surrounded by the protective presence of the herd. The mother elephant nuzzled him gently with her trunk, comforting him as he recovered from the ordeal. It was a harsh lesson for the young elephant, but one that would stay with him forever. His curiosity, while important, needed to be tempered with caution in the unpredictable world of the wild. In a frenzy of panic, the baby elephant broke free from the swarm, his heart pounding in his chest. The pain from the bee stings was unbearable, but his fear drove him forward as he charged through the undergrowth, desperate to escape the relentless assault. His small legs carried him as fast as they could, dodging trees and branches as he made his way through the forest. The buzzing of the bees seemed to grow louder, chasing him, an incessant reminder of the danger at his heels. The baby elephant had one thought in mind: water. He had seen the water holes before, and he knew that the cool, soothing embrace of water would offer him relief from the pain and the constant stinging. He pushed himself harder, his body trembling with exhaustion and fear. In the distance, through the trees, he spotted the familiar glint of water. It was his only chance. With renewed energy, the baby elephant bolted toward the water, his feet splashing against the muddy ground as he closed in on the lake. His breath came in quick gasps, but he didn't slow down. He could hear the buzzing of the bees growing closer. Their tiny bodies still hovering in the air. Their stingers ready to strike again. Without hesitation, the baby elephant charged into the water, splashing and thrashing as he submerged himself in the cool depths. The water quickly rose up to his legs, and he waded deeper, feeling a brief sense of relief as the water surrounded him. But the relief was short-lived. Despite being in the water, the bees refused to back off. They hovered just above the surface, undeterred by the baby elephant's desperate attempt to escape. They continued to buzz angrily around him. And soon, their relentless stinging resumed. Even beneath the surface of the water, the pain was intense. The baby elephant let out a sharp cry as the bees stung his back, their tiny bodies finding gaps in his thick skin. He tried to shake them off, but they were persistent, swarming over him from every direction. The water, which had seemed like a sanctuary, no longer provided the protection he so desperately needed. His cries of distress echoed through the forest, a high-pitched, desperate call that carried over the water. The baby elephant's cries grew louder, filled with fear and pain as he tried to escape the swarm that clung to him. His small body trembled with exhaustion, his eyes wide with panic. He needed help. He needed his mother. In a moment of sheer desperation, the baby elephant called out again, this time with more urgency. His deep, rumbling trumpets pierced the air, a call for help that reached the ears of the other elephants in the herd. The mother elephant, who had been anxiously searching for her son since the moment she heard his cries, heard his distress and wasted no time. She trumpeted back, a signal to the rest of the herd, and charged toward the water, her powerful legs propelling her through the forest. The baby elephant's heart raced as he heard the familiar sound of his mother's trumpet in the distance. Relief washed over him as he knew she was coming to his aid. His cries grew louder, filled with hope, as he continued to struggle in the water. The pain from the bee stings relentless but manageable now that help was on the way. The mother elephant and the herd were coming, and with them, his safety. The baby elephant could only hold on for a little longer, waiting for the comforting presence of his mother and the protection of the herd to finally end his torment. The cries of the baby elephant echoed through the dense forest, reaching the ears of two park rangers, Sarah and Mike, who were patrolling nearby. Their vehicle was parked near a trail when the desperate, high-pitched calls broke the usual calm of the wilderness. Both Sarah and Mike immediately exchanged concerned glances. The sound was unmistakable. It was the unmistakable cry of a distressed elephant calf. Without hesitation, Sarah quickly started the engine, and Mike gripped the wheel tightly, urging the vehicle forward as they raced toward the source of the noise. As they drove through the thick underbrush, the sounds of the baby elephant's cries grew louder, guiding them straight to the waterhole. When they finally arrived, they saw the baby elephant thrashing in the water, still surrounded by a swarm of angry bees. His small body was shaking with exhaustion and pain, and the swarm of bees seemed relentless. Sarah and Mike immediately understood the severity of the situation. The baby elephant was in agony, and time was running out. Without a moment to lose, Sarah jumped out of the vehicle, followed closely by Mike. The two rangers had encountered similar situations in the past. Wild animals in distress needed quick and careful intervention. They could see that the bees were not relenting, continuing to sting the poor calf despite the water. Without wasting any more time, Sarah grabbed a long branch from a nearby tree while Mike clapped his hands loudly, trying to create enough noise to distract the bees and drive them away. The bees, angered and confused by the sudden disturbance, started to veer away from the baby elephant. But they did not retreat completely. Sarah waved the branch vigorously in the air, swatting at the bees with precision. Mike continued clapping, creating as much noise as he could to further disrupt the swarm. Slowly, the bees began to scatter, their angry buzzing fading into the distance. The baby elephant, still trembling and clearly exhausted, stopped thrashing around. The constant stings had stopped, and the swarm had finally dispersed. He was no longer surrounded by the pain and terror of the bees. But his body was still covered in welts, his skin swollen from the stings. The rangers moved quickly to assess the situation. Sarah and Mike approached the baby elephant cautiously, making sure not to startle him. The little elephant turned his head toward them, still frightened but showing signs of trust now that the immediate threat was gone. Sarah gently stroked his large, soft ears, offering a calming presence. Mike, meanwhile, pulled out a medical kit from the vehicle. He moved with purpose, first cleaning the baby's skin with water to wash away any remnants of the bees. He then applied a gentle antiseptic to the wounds, soothing the calf with a soft voice. The baby elephant winced as the cold water touched his swollen skin. But he remained still, grateful for the relief. Sarah and Mike continued to work together, ensuring that each sting was cleaned and treated. Their movements were efficient, yet gentle, knowing how delicate the baby elephant was in his vulnerable state. After a few minutes, they had treated all of the visible stings and were able to move the baby elephant to a safer spot away from the water. The mother elephant, who had been watching from a distance, slowly approached her calf, her eyes filled with concern. Sarah and Mike stepped back, giving the two elephants space to reconnect. The baby elephant nuzzled his mother's side, comforted by her presence. The rangers stayed for a while, making sure the baby elephant was stable and no longer in distress. When they were certain the calf was out of danger, they quietly left the area, knowing that the herd would take care of the young one from there. As Sarah and Mike drove away, they exchanged a quiet sense of accomplishment. They had saved the baby elephant, ensuring he could grow and thrive in the wild with the support of his family. With the baby elephant now stable and his wounds treated, Sarah and Mike knew that the most important part of the rescue was still ahead of them, returning him to his herd. The two rangers carefully led the calf back to the area near the waterhole, where the rest of the elephant herd had been waiting. The mother elephant, who had not left her son's side since the moment she heard his cries, stood at the edge of the water, her large ears flapping nervously as she scanned the surroundings. Her eyes were filled with concern, but there was a sense of relief in them when she saw her calf approaching. As Sarah and Mike brought the baby elephant closer, the mother's ears perked up. The baby, despite his still aching body, perked up as well, his eyes locked onto his mother, and a deep connection seemed to form in that moment. The mother elephant took a step forward, her trunk reaching out toward her son, who also stretched his trunk toward her. It was as if time stopped for a moment. The two elephants touched trunks, a soft and tender gesture that spoke volumes of their bond. The mother nuzzled her baby gently, her large, warm trunk wrapping around him as if to say, "You are safe now." The baby elephant responded with a soft trumpet, His fear and pain from earlier in the day now replaced with a sense of calm and comfort. He had found his way back to the heart of his family, where love and protection awaited him. The herd, who had been observing from a distance, seemed to share in the moment, their gentle trumpets filling the air as they celebrated the reunion. It was a powerful display of the deep familial bonds that elephants share. A reminder of how important these connections are in the wild. Sarah and Mike stood quietly at a distance, allowing the mother and calf to bond. They watched as the baby elephant, now comforted by his mother's presence, relaxed and began to join the rest of the herd. The other elephants, sensing that the danger had passed, slowly approached the calf, touching him with their trunks, offering their own support and care. The entire herd had come together in a beautiful, harmonious moment, a circle of protection and love. With the reunion complete, Sarah and Mike knew their job was done. They had stepped into the wild, intervened in a moment of crisis, and helped a young life in need. Now, it was time for them to leave the elephants to continue their lives in the wild. The rangers quietly got back into their vehicle, careful not to disturb the peace that had returned to the herd. As they drove away, they exchanged a smile, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they shared with nature. They had been part of something truly special that day, helping an animal in need and witnessing the incredible resilience of the wild. Their hearts were filled with joy, knowing that they had played a role in protecting a life, ensuring that the baby elephant would grow and thrive within the safety of his family and the wilderness that was his home. The forest seemed to breathe in harmony once again, the elephants continuing their journey with the knowledge that they were one step closer to home.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please comment 1. And if you didn't, just hit like. See you in the next videos.